All right, guys, so today I'm going to be talking to you guys about development and developmental psychology in specific. So, honestly, I've messed up recording this like 3 times, and so I'm going to try my best to not forget anything, but I have literally gone through this PowerPoint more times than I care to share. So, development is not something that just happens when you're young, it's something that happens across your whole lifespan. Although typically when people think about development, they think about children. This is probably because when you're a kid, these developmental changes happen so quickly, right? Things change for babies from week to week, whereas adults might not see really much in the way of developmental change for many, many years. And so developmental psychologists are typically interested in physical, cognitive, and social changes that occur as we age. And so one thing that's really interesting is how people measure this sort of thing with infants, right? So when you're an adult and we're trying to study your development, it's pretty easy to just ask you about these sorts of things, but children don't have that same option, right? They can't just share. And so people that study developmental psychology have to be very creative in how they measure these different things. And one thing that's typically used is habituation. So if you're unfamiliar with habituation, this is just the idea that the more you are exposed to a stimulus, the less of a response you will have. So an example in the world of development, let's say you have a baby and you continually show a baby this red ball. You show them the red ball, you show them the red ball, you show them the red ball. Baby's response to that red ball is going to decrease until they reach like almost no response. That's habituation. But let's say you show the baby a blue ball. This is a different stimulus to the one they habituated to, and so you'll see a reemergence of that response with a new stimulus. And this next one, this is a video of that. I'm not going to show it to you. It's exactly what I just said it was. You can watch it if you want. I'll post these slides. Okay. And so using habituation is one way that they can study these different things about infants. So some common procedures that use habituation, high amplitude sucking. This is using baby's natural sucking behavior, like on a pacifier, as a measure of habituation. So they might show a baby something, and then the more they're shown that same stimulus, the less they'll suck on a pacifier. EEG, that's exactly what it sounds like. Just using an EEG on a baby, that's what this picture is of right here. Looking time habituation, that's what this baby's doing, is spending more time looking at one thing or looking at another thing. Preferential looking is typically used for facial recognition. So that's just how do babies look at things? Do babies have a preference for looking at faces? And the answer is yes. Really little babies, like 2-week-old babies, will actually, because their visual acuity is so low, they'll just look at things that have the same contrast as faces and not necessarily faces themselves. But once a baby is around 6 weeks old, its visual acuity is high enough that it's able to determine, hey, this is a face, and they have a preference for that. And then these conditioned head turns and preference assessments are also good ways to use habituation and also to look at how different objects or toys or candy have a reinforcing value for a behavior in a kid, right? So what things are going to help a baby have a reinforcement of a behavior, so a reward, as compared to others. And so if you guys download this PowerPoint, you'll see there are some slides that I've hidden. They just talk more about this. So there's some preference assessment slides that you can absolutely look at. If you're interested, I don't remember if there's a question on the lab journal about that, but all the information you need is here. There's also a video that shows what a preference assessment is like. Feel free to watch that. You'll also see, like here, there are a bunch of different videos on each of these. I don't want to waste your time watching YouTube videos. If you're interested in looking, download the PowerPoint, watch the YouTube videos. That's all you need to do, okay? So here are some other interesting developmental milestones that are really interesting that I'd like to talk about. So object permanence, if you guys don't know what object permanence is, that's this idea that once a child has achieved object permanence, they understand that objects still exist even when they can't see them. So babies aren't born with this, which is why babies love peekaboo. right? For a baby that has object permanence, covering your face with your hands and then taking your hands away is stupid because they know you're behind your hands still. But babies that don't have object permanence genuinely think you have disappeared when you are behind your hands. And so that's why that game even exists. This conservation task, we're actually going to watch this video because it's entertaining, but it's a developmental milestone that comes along when children come to understand that things maintain their value even when they're in different circumstances. So we'll watch that here. This is going to open up Internet Explorer, which I think is so dumb, but whatever. Maybe? Okay. Here we go. All right, so that's the conservation task. Children reach a point in development when they go from not understanding that conservation of volume to a point when they do. The false belief task is similar to that. It's this idea that things can have minds of their own, right? So they aren't the only thinking thing around. So we're gonna watch this one too. All right, so that's exactly what we just watched. This is the idea that other people have their own thoughts and beliefs and that they can differ. Delayed gratification, if you guys have ever heard of the marshmallow task, it's this idea that once children reach a certain development milestone, they're better at withholding reward in order for a bigger gratification. So they give kids a marshmallow on a plate and they say, you can eat this marshmallow right now, or if you wait 10 minutes, we'll give you 2 marshmallows, but you can't eat this marshmallow if you want to have two marshmallows, right? So there becomes a time in children's development when they are better at controlling their need for gratification immediately in order to receive a bigger reward. All right, but the big question that researchers are trying to kind of get at here is, are they learning from these procedures as much as they think there are? Because it's really challenging when babies can't talk and they can't tell you, but they have to come up with these ways to get around that. All right,